Greetings and welcome to another one of our catch-up sessions from the Black Father Support Group. My name is Marley. A little outside broadcast for you. So I wanted to talk a little bit about tradition. Today is the 26th of March 2016, and that makes this the 100th centenary of Marcus Garvey's UNIA organisation. They set up back in 1916. So the reason why I want to talk about tradition is because of the fact that many of us don't actually have a tradition or that we're aware of that we can talk about. So, you know, what is the importance of it and what does it bring for you? Why is it that, especially over here in the UK, you see a lot of programs that are dedicated to history? So the BBC will go on and on about, you know, history programs, about Great Britain, about Britain as a colonial power. They like to remind later on, yeah, I'll see you over there. I'll be over there in a little while. You see a lot of people talking about the colonial aspects of Britain when Britain was so-called great. Why is that? Why is it so important that this is something that is covered? Well, the importance of it is that it makes people have a connection to each other, have a connection to their roots. And so that when they're speaking or when they're thinking or when they're deciding what they're going to do next, it's not just based on what is here now. They're not just working off of the sweat equity of their own. They're able to build and make a promise based on the sweat equity of their predecessors, of their ancestors, of the things that Britain has done in the past. Now, what's distressing for people of the African diaspora is that we have the longest, the largest, the deepest traditions, but because of you know, that colonial rule that was run upon us from those in the from Great Britain, so-called, from other European countries. I won't say companies, they are companies, but other European countries. It's meant that there has been a divorcing of us and our tradition. What's so great about today is that we're getting to enjoy that history. You know, that past, what was there before is still being celebrated today. And so today I'm at the celebration for the UNIA. And what you can see here, there's young ones that are getting to learn about Africa. So they're getting to see a little bit of their tradition. I have to talk quietly now because I'm going into the main room. But what you get to see is different people who recognize, who love, and who appreciate their history and their tradition. So that is seen in the way people dress, in the way they talk, and the way they present themselves.
This association adopts an attitude not of hostility to other races and peoples of the world, but an attitude of self-respect, of manhood rights on behalf of 400 million Negroes of the world. We represent peace, harmony, love, human sympathy, human rights and human justice, and that this is why we fight so much. Wheresoever human rights are denied to any group, wheresoever justice is denied to any group, there the UNIA finds a cause. And at this time, among all the peoples of the world, the group that suffers most from injustice, the group that is denied most of those rights that belong to all humanity, is the black group of 400 million. Because of that injustice, because of that denial of our rights, we go forth under the leadership of the one who is always on the side of right to fight the common cause of humanity, to fight as we fought in the Revolutionary War, as we fought in the Civil War, as we fought in the Spanish-American War, and as we fought in the war between 1914 to 18 on the battle plains of France and Flanders. As it brought up the heights of Mesopotamia, even so under the leadership of the UNIA, we are marshalling the 400 million Negroes of the world to fight for the emancipation of the race and of the redemption of the country of our fathers. We represent a new line of thought among Negroes, whether you call it advanced thought or reactionary thought. I do not care. If it is reactionary for people to seek independence in government, then we are reactionary. If it is advanced thought for people to seek liberty and freedom, then we represent the advanced school of thought among the Negroes of this country. We of the UNIA believe that what is good for the other fellow is good for us. If government is something that is worthwhile, if government is something that is appreciable and helpful and protective to others, then we also want to experiment in government. We do not mean a government that will make us citizens without rights or subjects, without consideration. We mean the kind of government that will place our race in control, even as other races are in control of their own governments. That does not suggest anything that is unreasonable. It was not unreasonable for George Washington, the great hero and father of the country, to have fought for the freedom of America, given to us this great republic and this great democracy. It was not unreasonable for the liberals of France to have fought against the monarchy, to give to the world French democracy and French republicanism. It was no unrighteous cause that led Tolstoy to sound the call of liberty in Russia, which has ended in giving to the world the social democracy of Russia, an experiment that will probably prove to be a boon and a blessing to mankind. If it was not an unrighteous cause that led Washington to fight for the independence of this country, and led the unrighteous cause for the UNIA to lead 400 million Negroes all over the world to fight for the liberation of our country. Therefore, the UNIA is not advocating the cause of church building, because we have a sufficiently large number of churches among us to minister to the spiritual needs of the people, and we are not going to compete with those who are engaged in so splendid a work. We are not engaged in building any new social institutions, and YMCAs or YWCAs, because there are enough social workers engaged in those praiseworthy efforts. We are not engaged in politics because we have enough local politicians. Democrats, socialists, Soviets, etc., and the political situation is well taken care of. We are not engaged in domestic politics, in church building or in social uplift work, but we are engaged in nation building. Misrepresentations. In advocating the principles of this association, we find we have been very much misunderstood and very much misrepresented by men from within our own race, as well as others from without. Any reform movement that seeks to bring about changes for the benefit of humanity is bound to be misrepresented by those who have always taken it upon themselves to administer to, and these are unfortunate, and to direct those who may be placed under temporary disadvantages. It has been so in all other movements, whether social or political. Hence, those of us in the Universal Negro Improvement Association who lead do not feel in any way embarrassed about this misrepresentation, about this misunderstanding. As far as the aims and objectives of the Universal Negro Improvement Association go, but those who probably would have taken kindly notice of this great movement have been led to believe that this movement seeks not to develop the good within the race, but to give expression to that which is most destructive and most harmful to society and to government. I desire to remove the misunderstanding that has been created in the minds of millions of people throughout the world in their relationship to the organisation. The Universal Negro Improvement Association stands for the bigger brotherhood. The Universal Negro Improvement Association stands for human rights, not only for Negroes but for all races. The Universal Negro Improvement Association believes in the rights of not only the black race, but the white race, the yellow race, and the brown race. The Universal Negro Improvement Association believes that the white man has much right to be considered, the yellow man has as much right to be considered, the brown man has as much right to be considered, as well as the black man of Africa. In view of the fact that the black man of Africa has contributed as much to the world as the white man of Europe, and the brown man and yellow man of Asia, we of the Universal Negro Improvement Association demand that the white, yellow and brown races give to the black man his place in the civilization of the world. We ask for nothing more than the rights of 400 million Negroes. We are not seeking, as I said before, to destroy or disrupt the society.
Yeah, do you know that it's...
Alright, so I hope that's given you an idea of the importance of tradition, and how when you have that level of tradition, you have that level of understanding, or some people say overstanding, of where you've come from, then you have a level of pride about you and about yourself that those without it won't even be able to tap into. It gives you a level of power that is unavailable to those who are unwilling or unable to learn about their past. There's a lot of children in there as well, which is great, because for those young ones, they're going to grow up knowing this. It's not something they're going to have to, you know, go out and seek. It's going to be something that is within them. So that was the message of this catch-up session. It's all about tradition, people. The Black Father Support Group are in there representing. We've got other organisations that are also representing for different areas of family, of the community. And what I ask is that as you go on your journey learning about how to be a better father, a better mother, a better child, a better African, whatever it is, that you seek out your tradition, seek out what it is about your Africanicity that makes us so special. This is Marty from the Black Father Support Group, and I'm signing off.